This is Kabbalah Café. And today at Kabbalah Café, we have the topic that we're going to cover today is called night and day. And I wrote in the email, the email teaser for this week's class, that from the beginning, all the way in the beginning of creation, you already have a duality, right? The first thing we encounter when you open up the Torah and you read the beginning of the book of Bereshit, the book of Genesis, so the first thing you find is, good morning, Rob, is you find that the Torah says that, in the beginning, the world was desolate, it was void, there was darkness, and then God says, let there be light. And then it says God separates, good morning, God separates between light and darkness. Vayihi erev, vayihi boker, yom echad. Right? It was evening and it was morning one day. And immediately at the beginning, we find that there's duality. There's night and there's day, there's dark and there's light, and we have these two separate realities. In other words, to use a phrase, to use perhaps a modern terminology, the world is drawn in a very binary fashion. You have dark, light, right? Night and day. And the truth is, in all of our lives, we also have this duality. We have the night moments of our life and the day moments of our life. What are the night moments? Those moments in which we have lack of clarity, in which we are anxious, where we experience fear, where we experience self-doubt. The dark moments of the night moments of our life are where things are a little bit tricky and not so smooth. What are the day moments? The day moments are when there's clarity, right? Light is synonymous with clarity. There's clarity. There's positivity. There is joy. There's a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning, a sense of direction. I know where I'm going and I'm confident to get there. Those are the day moments of our lives. I want to relate this, and we're going to study some pretty amazing text inside soon. But I want to relate this to this week's Torah portion. So this week's parsha, the one that we're starting today, starting to think about and study in preparation. This week we're living with this parsha. The Torah portion this week is Lech Lecha, which is God's commandment to Abraham, to Avram, to go. He was 75 years old, and God says, you had a good 75 years, and now it's time to start moving. Can you imagine? 75, and now it's time to begin a new endeavor? It's crazy. This is what Hashem says. God says to Avram, Lech Lecha. And when you go, I'm going to make you great. He says, go to the land that I will show you. I'll make you great. I'll make your name great. You'll be popular. You'll be famous. Everyone the peoples of the world will be blessed through you, and it's going to be amazing. So that's what God tells Abraham. And of course, his wife, Sarah, Avram and Sarah. What happens? So they go, they leave home, they leave their land, and they start moving. And of course, they are led to the promised land. They're led to the land that will later become the land of Israel, known as the land of Canaan. Good morning, good morning. And what happens? The moment the Torah says, the moment they arrive in the land of Israel or the land of Canaan, what happens? Somebody help me out here. Famine. Vayi Ra'av. There's a famine in the earth. Great.
Is Canaan part of Israel now?
Is it part of Israel?
Yeah, is it?
It is Israel. In other words, Israel is Canaan. Clark Kent and Superman.
It is the same. It is the same demographics.
That's a very good question. I don't know what the original borders. That's a very good question. I don't know what the original borders of Canaan. It's roughly that area.
Because we trace back to Canaan, and that's justification for us being in charge of Israel.
Yeah. So
what I'm saying is, was Canaan a different land?
No.
Part of it?
No. Canaan was the land that we call today Israel. What were the exact borders? Are there subtle changes? I would imagine
I'm sure.
Yeah, but it's roughly the same area. But here's the deal. What happens? So again, God says to Avram and Sarah, God says to Abram and Sarah, go. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, it was it went all the way.
But somebody I heard this week said that the Philistines were always in Gaza. because they were fishermen or something like that, and it was a seaport time.
This is outside of my pay grade.
Okay.
I know the parasha. Here's what the parasha says. This is my story. I'm going to stick to it. What happens in the parasha? Avram and Sarah, Abram and Sarah, they arrive in Israel. And remember, this was the product of sacrifice. It's hard to leave your home. It's hard to leave your family. It's hard to pick up and move, especially when you don't know the destination. That takes a lot of faith, takes a lot of trust. And then you move. And then what happens? There's no food, which means that you put your trust in this invisible being, God, right? You put your trust in this higher power that you believe in with every fiber of your being. You put your trust and you tell yourself, presumably, this is what God says. This is what God wants, right? This is going to work out. This is going to be good. And then you arrive there and it's terrible. And now the question is, what do you do? Because I know what a lot of people would do, and it's normal, and this is not a criticism. What a lot of people, I don't know if it's most or few or whatever, I don't know the numbers or the statistics, but I know what a lot of people would do. A lot of people would say, thank you very much. Clearly this doesn't work. Clearly I made a mistake, or you made a mistake, or we all made a mistake, but clearly I'm out. Like, I trusted. And why did I trust? Because you told me it was going to be good. So if it's not good, trust broken, see you later. You told me it's going to be amazing. You said, Lech lecha, mi'artzecha, mi'mayladecha, mi'beis havicha, ela aretz asher areka, leave your land, leave your birthplace, leave your father's home, go to the Aram Naraim, modern map, I'm not sure exactly where. Ancient Mesopotamia. Haran, well, he had been already in Haran, right? He was born in Or Kasdim, whatever, and then in Haran, right? He was in Or Kasdim.
Not your pay grade.
I don't know. I'm sure there are maps out there that have it. So anyway, here's the point. He was told to leave, and he was told that if you leave, I will make you into a great nation. I will make you great. I will make your name great.
What kind of car?
Yeah, I was literally going to say that. Yeah, what kind of car?
I want details, the house, everything. Does it come with a wife?
Anyway, back to the story. So what happens is that Hashem is promising Avram and Sarah that it's going to be amazing for them if they have trust and faith. Trust in me. Go to the land that I will show you, right? I'm not going to tell you more. It's like, I'm whisking you away. Trust me. And then you trust, and then the whole thing blows up. How many people, or how many of us would say, it was nice while it lasted, it was a good experiment, it was great knowing you, I think I'm going to try my own way this time. Yeah, I think I'll try my own thing. Nope. Avram and Sarah, they don't lose their trust. They make a plan. There's no food here. We'll go down to Egypt. We'll get some food. Great. And then what happens? Avram's wife is abducted. Great. So now his wife is kidnapped. Fantastic. Things are going very well for Avram, right? He trusted God, right? He left everything behind. Now there was no food. He finally found food. Now he has no wife. His wife is abducted. Does he lose faith or trust? No. He remains steadfast. Okay. His wife is returned. They're given a payout. They leave. They go back to the land of Canaan, to become the land of Israel.
How much trust did he have? You said this is my sister. How much trust did he really have?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. There's a lot of discussion about that. Why did he do that? Was he putting her in harm's way? How could he have done that? Why didn't he just trust, like you're saying, and just not make a plan? Okay, good question. I think you could also ask that on why did he go to Egypt when there was no food in Canaan? If you really trust, he could have just stayed put and said, God will provide for me. It seems like even though he trusted, he recognized that he still had to make a plan. But it's not that he said, God, I'm checking out. This relationship is over. Like, you didn't uphold your end of the deal. I'm out. He didn't say that. So anyway, so then they return back to Canaan, the land of later become known as the land of Israel. And what happens then is a world war breaks out. The war, all of this is in this week's Torah portion, very action-packed. The war between the 4 kings and the 5 kings, and you have different sides, and then Avram's nephew Lot is captured, is taken a prisoner of war, and then he enters the fray to try to rescue. It's crazy to try to rescue his nephew. And by the way, who's the one that tells Abraham, that his nephew was kidnapped or was taken prisoner of war? Og, the giant. And according to the commentaries, why did Og tell him about his nephew? Because he wanted Avram to go into the war, to get involved in the battle and get killed. Why? Because he had his eyes on Sarah, on Avram's wife. It's very complicated.
How old was she then?
It's very complicated. I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that question. Yes. I cannot provide those types of details.
It's out of your favor.
Absolutely. Whatever I share, that's what I know. So here's the deal. If I don't,
in Iraq,
okay, there you go.
Mesopotamia,
Ancient
20
Mesopotamia.
miles from Baghdad.
There you go.
So Abraham Avinu was an Iraqi.
There you go. And so are we all, as descendants. Now, back to the story. At no point in this narrative do we see, and based on the commentaries, do we find that Avram and Sarah lose their faith. Now, at this point, they're childless, and at this point, God has promised them that they will be the parents. Avram will be the father of a great nation. Meanwhile, what great nation? There's no children. Back to the story of Lot. So Lot's captured, a POW, prisoner of war. Avram gets involved in the fray. He goes in, and he does what he needs to do, and he gets back the hostage, which, by the way, is certainly relevant to our times, right? And a lot that's going on now with our brothers and sisters. So Avram goes in, and he gets the hostage. He gets his nephew back safely, and at that point, you think things are calm, but meanwhile, there's more challenges brewing, or there's more drama brewing. Hashem says to him, by the way, all these descendants that I promised you, these descendants that I told you about, they're going to go through tremendous difficulty, tremendous trauma, tremendous pain, tremendous suffering. They're going to be slaves in a land that's not their own. This was foreshadowing the Egyptian exile. Again, this is even before Isaac is born. God is already telling Abraham that your descendants are going to go through difficulty. Who at this point, who is not checking out of this relationship? It's like, God, ever since I met you, things have been insane. Like, it's been crazy. It's been crazy. Yeah.
You just didn't want to fight the crowd together. I know you wanted it. I'm sorry to bring eggs. You want me to get you some eggs?
Good question. Good question. It's like, what has God done? What has God done for Abraham? What's in it for him? What it seems like is that Abraham, he recognized what was true. He recognized the truth. And he was so dedicated to truth and recognized that if something is true, it doesn't matter how dramatic it might seem. If it's true, it's true. And he's holding on for the ride. And he held on for the ride. There's no food. His wife is abducted. His nephew is abducted. He's learning that he doesn't have kids yet. He's learning that his kids are going to go through trauma. He's then told, then God says, it's like, let's try this. It's almost like a reality show, like with the secret camera, like that show, that Jury, what was that thing that just came out a year or two ago? Jury Duty. It's like, let's see what type of uncomfortable, positions we can put this guy in and see if, see at what point will he break? And then God says to him, okay, here's what's going to happen. You're 99 years old. Oh, I skipped out the whole Hagar and Ishmael drama. Okay, that's a whole drama, which, whatever. Then at 99, God says, all right, now you need to be circumcised. Are you kidding me? Is this a joke? Where's the cameras? Like, are you serious? Like, after all this, I forgot to tell you, there's going to be circumcision involved. And we don't have any other surgeons, so you're going to have to do it yourself.
Ouch.
This is like, at what point is he going to break? He doesn't break. And by the way, he keeps on going. Chazal, our sages tell us 10 tests Avram was faced with. 10 tests. And the final one was finally when Yitzchak is born. I hate to fast forward to the end. And sorry for a second, but let me just wrap this piece. And all the way at the end of the narrative, after he has his son, Yitzchak, after all of the drama, they're blessed with a son, Isaac. And then God says, all right, now kill him. Now sacrifice him. Give him a little nachas in between. But now it's time to sacrifice him. Kidding me? After all this, after all the promises, after all everything, finally it all came. It seems like it's actually happening. And now you're telling me, nope, take him out. And what does Avraham do? Vayashkem Avraham baboker. He woke up in the morning. He saddled up. He took his son. He took the knife. He took the rope. We're going. Of course, the angel of God tells him, after he puts his son on the altar, God didn't say to actually slaughter him, sacrifice him. God said, put him up as an offering. You put him up, take him down. You pass the test. Where does this come from? This is the founder, Avram and Sarah, of course. These are the founders of Judaism. Individuals who stuck with, as I said before, the way I framed it before, stuck with truth, even when it did not seem to make any sense. And I think in life, many of us make deals with God. I think that's a normal thing. It's a normal thing that people do. We make deals with God. We say, God, here's what I need, and here's what I'm willing to do for that. It's like, I want this blessing in my life. This is something that I want. More than want, this is something that I need.
But he doesn't negotiate.
1 second. I'm talking about us for a second. Don't worry, we're gonna get back to him. We're gonna give him a lot of screen time today. But here's how we work. We need something. We really need something. Blessing for health, a blessing for parnasa, a blessing for family, whatever blessing we need. We need this blessing. We want this blessing. So we make a deal. And we say to God, we say, look, this is what I want, or this is what I need, and this is what I will do. I'm going to show up. I'm going to be dedicated. I'm going to pray. I'm going to study. I'm going to give tzedakah. I'm going to do the good stuff. I'm going to do good things. And this is what I want. And maybe we don't draw it out like a contract, but in our heads or in our hearts, this is kind of how we're feeling. This is what I want, or this is what I need, and this is what I will do. Here's the simple question. What happens? What happens when we uphold our end of our bargain and God falls through?
Hate when that happens.
Right? So annoying. What do we do? What do we do then? It's easy and it's understandable at that moment for a person to say, you know what? I tried. But clearly this doesn't work, or it didn't work. And all right, I'm out. See you later. There's a movie that I love. I'm sure I've mentioned it before in class. There's a movie that I love that's called Ushpizin. You guys know that movie?
Yeah.
It's a very, I don't know how to describe it.
That's from the 70s.
No. Oh, is there? I don't know. There's another version. No. It's like from the 90s, right? Yeah. Or 2000s. 2000. There you go. So it's called Ushpizin. It's a Sukkot. Yeah, basically.
Now, actually, I got it confused with the older movie from the 70s about the woman who had to marry her brother-in-law.
Oh, yeah.
I forget what the name was. That one was.
Yeah, that's been done a few times. That style has been done a few times. Yeah. The chalitza, the yibum, whatever. Yeah. All right. So Ushpizin is about. The truth is, I don't remember all the details, but it's about a guy who's struggling, to make a living, and then somehow he pulls together some cash and buys like a really fancy esrog. He spends a lot of money. His wife is not happy about the amount of money that he spent on the holiday year. for lack of a better term. And like, there's a lot of drama that then two ex-felons or people that escape prison, they show up at a sukkah. And there's a lot of like few plot lines, but I remember there's one dramatic moment in that movie where he feels like he has been doing what he needs to be doing, like spiritually. He's been kind of checking all the boxes, and still things are not working out. Like he bought the fancy esrog, he invested in the mitzvah, he's trying to pray, correctly, and still everything around him is falling apart. And so he like runs into the forest and he begins like cry, like kind of screaming and crying, like what do you want from me? Like I'm doing all this stuff. And then he comes to his rabbi. And his rabbi says that when it comes to divine tests from God, people make a mistake. Everyone thinks that God brings a person a test, a challenge, and then the person musters, hopefully the strength to overcome the challenge, and then the challenge goes away. He says that's not what a test is. A test is when you have a challenge, and then you muster the strength to overcome the challenge, and then you get hit with an even bigger challenge. In other words, when you felt like, okay, here's the problem, so I'm gonna, summon all my energy to overcome it spiritually and practically and everything, and then I'm gonna neutralize that and succeed and wipe it away. And then what happens is you get hit with an even deeper challenge.
What, you shouldn't rise to the occasion?
Oh, he said the challenge is that second challenge that hits. After you thought that you already passed the test, and you get hit again with the test, and you might say, well, now I'm out.
Oh, my third challenge.
Yeah, right. Like, what do you want? Like, what do you want from me? Like, I did it already. You're doing it again? I'm out. That's the real challenge. The real challenge is the one that comes after you thought you passed all the tests. Like with Avram. Obviously, this is easier said than done. But this is the lesson from Avram, is that the real challenge is the one that comes after you thought you passed the challenge, after you thought you passed the test. That's the real test. The real test is when you don't see a linear equation between your spiritual courage and the outcome that you want. The question is, can you still summon the strength to do what's right or to do what you need to do, even when you don't see the outcome materialize? That's the story of Avram. That's the story of this week's Parsha. And really the next few Torah portions are individuals who are tested with every fiber of their being. Will you maintain? Will you be strong and be focused and be committed to what your commitments are, despite the fact that the equation is falling flat on the other side, despite the fact that this plus this should equal that, and that it's not equaling that. I don't see that. Where's the blessing? Where's the reward? I did all this. What do I get now? A harder test? A worse time? A greater challenge? Are you kidding me? Is it a prank? Where's the payoff? I'm investing, and it keeps on tanking, whatever that is. So what's going on? That's the test. I don't actually have an answer for this. I'm just trying to illustrate the lesson that we learn from Avram and Sarah. That is the idea of remaining steadfast despite the challenge. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is to express a truth that we all know. And that is that in life, there are moments of day and moments of night. Moments of day are like that scene in the movie where the main character, there's a soundtrack playing, a happy soundtrack playing, and it's this bright sky outside, and they're skipping and hopping, and everyone that they walk by smiles. Someone hands them flowers, a cup of coffee, a bagel. This is a Jewish movie, after all.
From a push cart.
From a push cart. Right? And everything works out well. And it's amazing. And all the lights are green. And all the doors open up. And everything is amazing. And by the way, in life, we do have those moments. We have those moments in which things are working. We're putting in the effort, and actually doors are opening in front of us. Things are actually working out. Those are the day moments. But then there are the night moments. Those night moments are when, no matter how hard we're pushing, the doors remain closed. And we think, and we act courageously and heroically, and the doors still remain closed. And then the question is, well, what do you want from me? Should I stop pushing or should I continue pushing? Like what should I actually do? Those moments of night are not only because there's difficulty, but because there's also confusion. The Talmud says, the Gemara says, it's not even a Kabbalistic quote. This is straight up, Jewish ethics or Jewish, psychology. It says, Ein simcha kahatarat svekot. There is no joy like the joy of the resolution of doubt or resolution of difficulty, which implies that there's no pain. If there's no greater joy than the resolution of difficulty, then there's no pain like the difficulty. And I think I'm mistranslating it. How do you translate safek? Yeah, doubt. I'm saying difficulty. It's really doubt. Doubt means confusion. What do I do next? That's what safek is. So the Talmud says, Ein simcha kahatarat svekot. There's no joy like the untying of doubt. In other words, when a person finally knows what they need to be doing, that's joy. When you're stuck, you're not sure what to do, and then you have clarity what you need to be doing, that's amazing. There's joy. But what happens before that? What happens when you don't know? Think about Avram and Sarah, Abram and Sarah. They pick up, they pack their bags, 75 years old. He's 75. She's a little younger. They're going down. They go to Israel, and now there's a famine. What do we do? What do we do? Can you imagine the doubt? Can you imagine the questions? What do we do now? What's the message? Should we stay? Should we go back home? Should we go somewhere else? And what happens when you don't have divine directive? You were told to go, you were told to stop, but you're not told what to do next. And so in life, we have some clarity, we have some, basic direction of where to go and how to live. But then there's a lot of other areas of life in which we don't have clarity. We don't have divine directive. We don't have, big, luminescent neon divine signs pointing us in every direction. I mean, the last time I saw a sign pointing me in a direction was a few days ago when I was driving down the street and some guy was flipping the sign, but that was for we buy and sell gold. So that's not going to help me right now, right?
How do you know?
That was a joke. Huh? The truth is, it wasn't buy and sell gold. It was for Verizon. It's a sign. Get rid of T-Mobile. Okay, here's the point. Yeah. Okay.
You see, you were funny this week.
I try. Even though I'm losing my voice, still crack some jokes. Back to the point. Point is, what happens when we're not sure what to do? What happens when we don't know where we're going? What happens when we don't have clarity? That's safek. That's doubt. There's no greater pain. If you know where you need to go, but it's difficult, okay, but at least you know where to go. So there's a series of obstacles. You have like sharks, you have those, spiky walls that are coming in. You have what else?
Ballistic missiles.
No, that sounds too dangerous. We have stick with sharks. Huh? The pit in the ground. I'm thinking of like what are those shows like Wipeout or whatever it is? Oh, Indiana Jones, right? You have snakes.
Rain on a Shabbos morning.
Rain on a Shabbos morning. Okay, but you know where you're going. That's true. That is true. But you know where you're going. So no, right. You know where you're going, but there are obstacles. So you have a choice. Either you push or you get stuck by the obstacles. But you don't have a safek. You don't have lack of clarity. You have clarity. It's just hard. That's one level of challenge. But a deeper level of challenge is when you don't even know where to go. You're not exactly sure. Like, where should I go next? Should I go right, left? Should I stay put? Should I go back? Where do I go? I guess. but then you feel stuck. Ein simcha ka'atarat tzveikot. There's no joy like when you resolve doubt, when you have clarity. What I'm trying to say here is that there's two forms of darkness. There's darkness that you can see, that you know is dark, but then there's a deeper form of darkness that we would call a double darkness. And the double darkness is, it's so dark, you don't even know what to do. That's a harder darkness. The truth is, maybe even worse type of darkness is the darkness that you don't even know is a darkness and you think is light. They tell a story, parable is told, about a family that gets thrown into debtor's prison. You know, back in the day, if you couldn't pay a loan, they would throw the family, God forbid, they would throw them into to a dungeon. So imagine you had a family that was thrown into this dungeon, into this underground pit, and whatever, they were fed or their food arrived. Okay, and then years passed. So the original generation, the original pit, dungeon dwellers. So they knew what light was. But then eventually, as the years go by, the next generation is born, etc. So they don't know. There's a rumor that there's something called light. There's something called the sun. They've never seen it with their own eyes. The rumor is that there's something called light, something called the sun. But eventually, some generations later, again, it's just a parable. Generations later, the individuals are not even looking for the light anymore. It's not even like, oh, the sun, that would be nice. It's like, this is light. Can't even fathom that there's something better than this. That's when it's a choshech kaful muchupal. That's when it's a double and quadrupled darkness. A darkness that you think is actually light. And so I think, the way we can apply this is, we have different levels of darkness. There are the challenges that we face. So we know where we need to go, but there's a challenge, there's an obstacle. It's difficult to do that, but we know what we need to do. That's one level of darkness. Another level of darkness is where we're not even sure what to do. Another level of darkness is where we take that doubt as normal. Like it's normal not to know what to do. And clarity, we're never going to get clarity. We become complacent in the darkness. That's even darker because now we're not even looking for the answer for where to get out, for how to get out. We've accepted that double darkness. That's the third level of darkness. The Talmud asked the question, Esther Minolan. Where do you find Esther in the Torah? It's a weird question. You know who Esther is, right? It's the hero of Purim, the Purim story. Purim story happened over 1,000 years after the Torah was given on Mount Sinai, 1,000 years after Moses. But the Talmud asks, where do you find some sort of hint to Esther? Everything's got to be in Torah. Where do you find Esther? Talmud answers, it's from a verse in Deuteronomy. God says, Va'anochi, hastir astir panai bayom hahu, and I will hide my face on that. Hastir aster means concealment. I will hide my face on that day. And the commentators say, why the double expression hastir aster? Hastir aster, I will hide. Anochi hastir, or astir, I will hide my face. Why twice? And the explanation is what I shared with you. There's two types of hiding. There's where God hides, but you're looking for God, and then where God is so hidden, you forgot to look. Sorry, or you don't even know to look. You don't even know there's something out there to look for. That's when it's really dark. It's so dark, I don't even know that there's more to life than the grind. That's it, right? Isn't that it? Wake up, go to work, come back, rinse and repeat. That's the double darkness. It's not that there's light, I'm looking for the light, I'm getting stuck. It's I don't even know there's light. That's the double darkness. The double darkness is where it's dark and you don't even know it's dark. You call that light. That's harder to get out. Talmud says that's where Esther is hinted to in Torah. Story of Purim, of course, is a story of people were stuck at that time. The people were stuck, not just because of the decree against them for annihilation. That got them unstuck. That usually works, by the way. I mean, look what's going on now, right? Jews under threat, that usually wakes up the soul. It's when things are kind of okay, that's when we go to sleep. That's when we fall asleep. So you have a king. This was not intended to be a Purim class, but here we are, right? You had a king, Achashverosh, who invites everybody to a party. That's how the Megillah, that's how the book of Esther begins. He invites everyone to a party. The party goes on for 180 days. That's a party. You think at your university there was a party? Did it go 180 days? I don't think so.
That's a kegger.
That's a kegger. That's a party. 180 days?
Half a year?
Absolutely. A 6-month party.
It was a day and a day and a day. It's 3 days.
It was
Where did they sleep?
180 days.
Who slept?
What were the 100 days?
Or with each other?
It was 1 day, 1 day, 1 day.
What the part?
Where am I getting missing the story here? The story was Esther at a party, and then a second.
No, not
Esther's
Esther's party.
party.
Achashverosh's party,
party.
the original party. When he killed his wife, remember that? Vashti?
Uh,
The party at the beginning of the book. You're right. Esther had a few-day party. She also threw parties.
But not
But
6 months.
No, that was a normal party. You have a party, you go home. Like what kind of business is 180 days? Anyway, but back to the story.
like, money costs and food.
That's probably also, he's like, we just ran out of cash. Anyway, so here's what's going on. He throws a party and the Jews show up to the party. And according to the commentaries, why did they show up to the party? They had kosher food at the party, right? They had you get a little airplane meal.
They had it wrapped
It's like
in foil.
wrapped in foil. You open it up, bagel. Unbelievable. We're back to bagels again.
But no wine.
Depends on which commentary you ask. According to some commentaries, they even had kosher wine. Yeah, mavushal. Mavushal wine. Anyway, somebody once told me, he's like, you know what the definition of mavushal is? Ruined. But for those that are not sure what I'm talking about, mavushal is lots of kosher wine. If you look on the label, it will say mavushal. Mavushal means cooked or boiled. It means that they took the wine and raised the temperature on it above 212 or whatever, 212 degrees. Now they do like pasteurization on it, whatever. Basically, boil the wine and then ruin it.
Then Goyim can touch it.
Exactly. Then it's fair game. Back to the story. So what's happening here is like this. You have this party, and the Jews are invited, and the Jews show up. And why do they show up? They show up for a simple reason. Because wouldn't it be great to be friends with the government? Wouldn't it be great to be buddies with the king? I mean, wouldn't that be ideal for Jewish safety, security, and survival? Wouldn't it be good to be on very good terms with the king? Now, even though this king is bringing out, serving utensils and platters and vessels that used to be in your holy temple, which he did, even though he's using that for his own, secular party, as it were, and desecrating the holiness, the sanctity of the temple's vessels, although that's happening. But hey, the king invited you. Wouldn't it be appropriate to go and hang out with the king and to feel good about that? And this is where the Jew falls asleep, where the Jew says, my safety and security lies not in the hands of God, but lies in the hand of this guy. This guy meaning Achashverosh, who doesn't like Jews, but likes throwing a party and wants everyone there. So when I put my trust in this guy, that's when my eye is off the ball. That's when I take my eye off the ball. That's when you have darkness. That's when you have a darkness of like, what do you mean it's dark? What do you mean I'm doing the wrong thing? I'm doing the right thing. That's when you think darkness is light. That's when no, I'm doing the right thing because look, I went to the feast.
We did it again in Egypt. We walked into, we're all part of this civic project.
Absolutely.
And the next thing you know, we're slaves.
Next thing it was a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
Exactly. Look, it seems like Abraham going to Egypt for food wasn't the same as capitulating, as putting his trust in in Achashverosh. The Jews put their trust. They said, not in God we trust, in Achashverosh we trust. We're going to put our, we're going to put our faith in this guy. This king is, the Talmud says a story.
Sort of like we do in Washington.
Yeah.
1 second. All right. Right. So here's the deal.
All on the same page.
The Talmud tells a story, a really wild story. A rabbi says, one time I was boating. Me and my buddies, we were in a boat. We were in a little rowboat, whatever it was. And we rowed out and we found an island and we jumped on the island. And we were hanging out and we started cooking on the island. We lit a fire. We were cooking food, whatever it was. And suddenly the island started moving. And we realized it wasn't an island. It was a large fish. And it flipped over and threw us into the water. Had the boat not been nearby, we would have drowned and we would have died. That's the story. And you're thinking, you read this in the Talmud, and you're like, okay, so number one, what are you taking? Like, what are you on? Because this is a crazy story. Number two, I want to go boating with that guy, because that seems like people come back with fish stories of like, I caught this fish. This guy, what kind of story is this? The Maharsha, one of the classic Talmudic commentaries that explains the stories of the Talmud, especially the strange stories, the apparently strange stories, says like this. This is a metaphor. It's a metaphor of Jewish history. We have our boat. That's our tradition. We have our boat, our Torah. But then we find what looks like an island, and it looks safe and secure. And we become integrated in the island. We start cooking and barbecuing and adopting local culture. But at some point, the island starts moving and flips us into the water. Thank God that we still have the boat nearby that we can hop back on. This is the parable for Jewish history. We become complacent. We think that our survival is going to be because this country is so nice to us, whatever country that's been, right? Historically, let's just be honest here. Every country that Jews have been to, that Jews have been welcomed into or Jews have settled in, has at some point thrown us out or been hostile to us. That's the truth of Jewish history, right? So the message is that not to forget who we are and not to think that our survival, that our protection lies in the hands of some other entity or some other power. This is the story of Avram and Sarah, individuals who never forgot who their rock was. And that type of certainty can see a person through even in moments of darkness. So we all wish for moments of light. We all wish for moments of clarity. But the real question is, what happens when we have those dark moments? What happens when we have those moments of lack of clarity? That's when the courage, that's when the strength of Avram and Sarah, of Abram and Sarah, that's when that becomes necessary to see through those challenges, to see through the darkness, to make it through to the other side. It's not easy and it's not simple. And when I say that, it's way more than not easy. It's profoundly difficult, and it can feel almost impossible, or it can feel impossible. And yet, the Jew is always asked to do the impossible. That's kind of been our story, to do the impossible, to be the miracle, to live the paradox. That's always been our role. That's always been our task. We didn't ask for it, right?
Right.
We're chosen for this task. Right. That's why when someone wants to join the fold, the first question we ask is, are you sure?
No, are you crazy?
Are you crazy? Right? Are you sure? Because it hasn't been easy. It's not easy. This is not an easy. Look what's going on in the world. Look how quickly sympathy ends for a Jew. Look how cheap Jewish blood is to the world. How many decades after 6 million you would think we would still have a little bit of empathy? Nope. Yeah, we had 3 days of empathy. And once again, what the point is that there's a lot of darkness. There's also a lot of light. One thing that I love about the prayers, we say Shema twice a day in the prayer liturgy. By Shachris, the morning prayer, and by Ma'ariv or Arvis, the evening, the nighttime prayer. Mincha, the afternoon prayer, Shema is not there. We say Ashrei, we say the Amida, but there's no Shema. Shema is in the morning and at night. What is the paragraph after Shema? What does it say? It depends. Shachris, it has one nusach. Ma'ariv, it has another nusach. What does it say, Shachris? What's the word after emes or emet? In the morning we say the Yatziv, the Nachon, the Kayim, the Yashar, the Neman, the Av. I affirm, I believe, I trust, I love, I'm on board. And at night, after Emet, we say, Ve'emunah. I have faith. When things are bright, we're excited, we have certainty. When things are a little dark, we have to call upon emunah, faith. We have to call upon faith. And that's not easy. It's not easy to have faith, especially when it feels like our trust doesn't equal the outcome that we want. I trusted and it fell through. What happened? That's when it gets very difficult. This brings us back to our conversation that we started last week and what we're going to continue in the text. Two personas. We spoke today about Avram and Sarah. They're related to the Torah. They're heroes of the Torah portion. But the focus in our text is on the third of our patriarchs, our patriarch, Yaakov, Jacob.
He just left and then he used it, I guess, and he was carrying.
Oh, there you go. Well, you can't say that they didn't try. I was actually wondering when he came back if maybe he was looking for his skis, and like I was actually thinking that in my head. Okay, anyway, but back to the story. So Yaakov, we said last week, Yaakov becomes Yisrael. Jacob becomes Israel. He gains a second name. When? After he wrestles and triumphs over the angel. And so Yaakov, or the name Jacob, represents the Jew who's struggling. And Israel represents the Jew who has overcome the struggle. And we said last week, just kind of resetting the room here for a second, we said last week that after his name change, the Torah itself still calls him the original name. And it switches back and forth. It says Yaakov, Yisrael, Jacob, Israel. It uses them not exactly interchangeably, but it uses both names. And it seems weird. If his name is changed, should be a permanent change. It's not a permanent change. And the reason for this, based in the teaching of Jewish mystical thought, is because these represent the duality or the two names that each one of us possess. Each of us has moments in our life in which we are the Jacob struggler, and each of us has moments in our lives in which we are the Israel. What's the right word? Victor, the right word? In which we have achieved victory like Yisrael. We struggle and we have breakthroughs. And that
really victory or confidence?
Confidence also. Confidence born of victory. But I would say in our lives, we've all experienced challenge that we have broken through and have conquered. But lest we think that we're done, the next moment we're faced with another challenge, which means that even when we become a Yisrael in one space, we're still a Jacob in another place, or we've discovered a new Jacob in our persona. This is by design. Life is designed to provide for us, like Abraham and Sarah, a series of tests. Now, if we were designing life, we would design it to be way easier. We would design it probably to include full-time beach front, views, all sunny sky, all sun, in the sky, and only, I don't know.
What's wrong?
Oh, nothing wrong with that. No, I'm saying if we were designing it, no, this is nothing wrong at all, right? Whatever food you want available, friends and family and good times and those drinks with the little umbrellas, whatever that's called, and all would be good if we were designing life. But God doesn't design life like that. God says, I want people to have to push through. Why? I don't know. I mean, I can speculate. We become stronger through that. You generate more energy through that. People don't really exert that much energy lying down on the beach. It just doesn't, there's not much resistance to push through. It's kind of good. It doesn't summon depth of soul, of spirit. Right? It just does, yeah.
I heard a sage say, or sages, you're going to have it great in heaven. You want it great here too.
There you go. Good. Along those lines, God created that space, the beachfront property. It's called heaven.
Yeah.
The angels are there. The souls before and after this time. That's where they hang out. That exists.
This is a test.
This is different. This is different. This is meant. It's kind of like you put someone in an obstacle course, or you give someone a riddle, or it's about that. It's about, generating that energy. It's about summoning a deeper power that the person has that otherwise wouldn't come out. How would the soul ever exercise its true power if it was just basking in divine rays all day, forever, for eternity? Again, that also sounds very good. Don't get me wrong, but that's not what life is. Life is really about those Jacob struggle moments coupled with breakthroughs. We need the successes to keep us going through the difficult times. We need those Israel moments, those Israel success moments to keep us motivated to stick it through the other moments. So with this in mind, let's look inside. It's a really beautiful text that we're going to read today, some paragraphs of text. Please take a copy pass. By the way, today I actually have the text scan. Remember last week I did not have it scanned. For those that were on the Zoom last week, I am better prepared, so everyone can follow along. How's that for progress? Okay, here, right?
Yeah.
We're making progress. Progress,
That
not
was a test.
perfection.
You passed it.
I passed my test. Yes. Okay, here we go. Can you guys see that? Thumbs up if you can see that, the text. Yeah. All right, perfect. All right, Yaakov and Yisrael. Yeah, you see that? Page 22, right here. First page where it says Yaakov and Yisrael, Jacob and Israel. Okay, to understand this, what are we understanding? Well, last week we got into a story about cattle and about two tribes that wanted land that was good for the beef. Speaking of beef, reminds me of the kosher barbecue fest today in Dunwoody, starting soon. Anyway, back to our script. Yaakov and Yisrael. To understand this, we must first present the concept of Yaakov and Yisrael as explained in a previous discourse. I think I mentioned this last week. So the text that we're studying here is part of a long series of mystical texts that kind of lead one to the other. So you can study it. You can study them kind of, as all the way through. You can binge them all the way through, or you can also focus in on one episode. Each episode, text, discourse, mimer, is self-contained and also related. So it's kind of like that. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and when you listen to podcasts, usually you get a disclaimer if it's part of a series, like this is episode 5. However, this will make way more sense if you start with episode 1 and read it all the way through. In this case, I got you. We're good starting with this episode. All right. So he's now calling back to what we explained before about Yaakov and Yisrael. Yaakov represents the dimension of Yaakov, my servant. Okay, here we go. Meaning that divine worship associated with the name Yaakov is done within the constricted light of the name Elokim. And it is, I'm going to explain all this in a second, and it is specifically through this worship that the divine servant comes to the revelation of the name Havaya. Let me explain what this is. Basically, what he's describing, the Yaakov persona is the individual that works within the constricted light. What is the constricted light? Works within a space of darkness, a space of lack of clarity. This is what I've been speaking of. Up until now, the idea of operating in a space where you have lack of clarity, lack of certainty, where you don't see God in a clear fashion, you don't see purpose, you don't see the breakthroughs. You are operating within the constricted light. Now, where does the constricted light come from, i.e. space of darkness? It comes from the divine name Elokim. Now, we know in scripture, there are two names of God that are used primarily. One is Hashem and one is Elokim. In the language of Kabbalah, it's Havaya and Elokim. Havaya represents the light that is boundless and infinite and breaks through all barriers. Elokim represents concealment. In fact, the word Elokim, numerologically in Gematria, is equivalent to the number 86. If you count up the letters, the number there's a number associated with every Hebrew letter. Elokim equals 86. 86 is also the same Gematria, the same numerology as the Hebrew word Hateva. What does Hateva mean?
The nature, right?
Nature, right? Hateva means the nature, i.e. nature itself. Elokim is what creates nature. In fact, when you read the Torah at the beginning, it says, Bereshit bara Elokim. In the beginning, who created? Elokim. Why not Hashem? Why Elokim? Why the third word of the Torah, the first name of God that we're introduced to is the name of Elokim. Why Elokim? Kabbalah says, you know why? Because Elokim is concealment. Elokim is when God is actually hidden. Elokim is the force of God that doesn't look like God. Looks like nature. You say, oh, I don't believe in God. So then what makes all this go? Oh, it's nature. Who do you think nature is, bro? Oh, you're just using a different word for God. Dr. Rebbe says in Tanya, anytime someone says the word nature, it means they can't explain it. Say the nature of this chemical mixed with that chemical as it produces that reaction. That's its nature. Why? It's its nature. Why? That's how it works. Oh, meaning you can't explain it. Okay, good. And when you say that's its nature, it means you've hit the end of reason. What you're saying is that's the way it works. Well, who made it work like that? Hashem, God. So here's what happens. The name Elokim connotes concealment. Havaya, the name Hashem, connotes revelation. Creation is the product of divine revelation, but at the same time, divine constriction. To create a world in which people have ego and self-awareness, a world in which you walk outside and don't see God immediately, you see stuff, that world is a world born of Elokim, concealment of God, where you don't see the author. The author is not standing. The chef is not standing and saying, do you like my food? You just see the food and you're not sure where it came from. You just see a world, a beautiful world, and you're like, I don't know. I'm not sure how this got here. The author is not obvious. That world in which the author is not immediately obvious is the world produced by Elokim. Bereshit bara Elokim. In the beginning, Elokim created heaven and earth. Why Elokim? Because this world is a world of concealment. Again, when we think about concealment, it means that there is a projection of energy. Otherwise, this wouldn't be here. So there has to be creation, but the creation is done in a way of concealment where you don't see the truth. And the point of our text is to say that Yaakov is the person who grapples in Elokim, the struggler who operates in the space of Elokim, i.e. the person who, looking at the world, sees the darkness, doesn't have the breakthrough. And the goal of Yaakov is to push and push and push until you see the breakthrough, until you have an experience of light. And that's how you reach Havaya. This is just what he's saying over here. He says it is specifically through this worship that the divine servant comes to the revelation of the name Havaya. In other words, how do you get to that Havaya, which is the breakthrough of the light? It's through pushing through Elokim, pushing through the concealment. Let's keep on going inside page 24, top line. His primary worship is in the work of refinement, to refine and fix the animal soul and all that is associated with it, etc. In other words, this individual wakes up in the morning and feels their lower self. In the language of Kabbalah, feels their animal soul, their base instinct. In other words, this person is someone who's not filled completely with light. This person is filled with also negative temptation or lower temptation. This person is torn in the morning. Should I pray, or should I do something for God, or should I do something for myself? Should I do something for someone else or do something for myself? Should I do something for the world or something for myself? This person is someone who is split, who's torn between these two spaces. That's where the work happens. The work happens to refine and fix, tame, train, transform, harness the animal inside. The tzaddik, the Yisrael persona, doesn't have to deal with the animal. That's a person who wants to do the right thing, who loves prayer, who loves doing something for someone else. Oh, You need me to pack, you're moving, you need to schlep boxes. I'm right there. I want to do that. Right? The Yaakov is someone who struggles with that. He says, well, wait a second. I don't know that I want to help you. I want to help me. And by the way, helping self is not evil, but it's self. An animal's not, you call it the animal soul. Animals are not evil, but animals are about survival, about self. The animal soul is the part of us that says, you got to worry about yourself. You got to take care of self. Other, Muslim gain. Let them deal with themselves. Right.
But if you're always just giving, you're giving up.
Good. We don't have to worry about that because we have a healthy animal soul that's going to make sure we take care of ourselves. The tzaddik, let the tzaddik worry about that. Someone who has no animal soul, how are they going to survive? How are they going to live? How are they going to protect themselves? That's that. They have to worry about that. You and I can't speak for you. I don't have to worry about that. I need to bend. I need to learn about this stuff, right? Let's learn about how to transcend or transform the animal because the animal is doing very well. Thank you very much. I always use this example. The baby that wakes up 3 a.m. crying for food, that's the animal soul. It's not evil. It's not bad. It's normal. But what's the baby doing? Waking up its mother and maybe its father also. Don't you know mom is tired? Mom's exhausted. Give mom a little extra sleep. You can't wait another hour, right? I need to eat. This is not bad. It's normal. It's normal to care about self. The first thing we learn in life is, or the first feeling we have is taking care of self. It's the godly soul that is almost an acquired taste, that I can transcend my focus on self for a moment to care about something else beyond myself, something greater than self. That's something that's learned. That's why it says in the book of Tanya, the almost like the Bible of Chabad Hasidic philosophy, it says that the godly soul calls it the second soul, because the first soul that we're aware of is that animal soul, like I need, I want, like got to take care of me first. The second soul is the one that allows us to go beyond ourselves. So what we're saying over here is that who is Yaakov? The Yaakov persona. The Yaakov is the one who struggles with this, who knows the value of going beyond self, but is very much stuck within self. Let's continue, and then we're going to close it out. Consequently, 2 more minutes. Consequently, this worship demands toil and labor. It's very hard work. Very hard work. To work with your animal soul, to try to get past your obsession with self, that's hard. Both in attempting to grasp the divine light, since it is a constricted light that is hidden and concealed, and also because of the impediments and obstructions that stem from the animal soul, which hides and conceals the light of his divine soul. So it's hard to see the light in a world of darkness. It's hard to find God, number one, and it's harder to find God when I have my animal soul kicking and screaming, feed me, take care of me, don't forget about me. It's very hard to find something more meaningful and more valuable, more eternal than just temporal life. I'm reminded of a meditation that I once heard for Yom Kippur. You know, the argument is that Yom Kippur is a day of prayer. We would be able to pray better if we could eat. That's the argument. Why are we not eating? We're making it harder for ourselves. We should be able to eat and pray all day. You fast, right? Yom Kippur, you fast. And the body starts kicking and screaming. I want food. Here's the meditation. Body, are you so frail that for a few hours you start losing, like you start getting all upset, all uptight? And this is what I'm running after, like my whole life, to placate this very what's the right word? This very temperamental, very precarious, very temporal part of me. That's what I'm running after, right? It's like almost embarrassing. So one day a year, we put everything in context and say, my body, I need food. Sure, I'll break my fast, probably on a bagel. It's like if today's the focus on bagel. That's our callback. All right, back inside. which has, okay, we are referring especially to the toil and hard work in fixing and refining the animal soul and all that is associated with it, all of which comes with a great deal of intense labor. Yaakov is the one who doesn't see the light, who's struggling to find light in life, struggling to find purpose, meaning God. Someone who doesn't see God, but is looking for God. Someone who struggles with their own lower self, their own base instincts, their own natural tendencies that keeps them tethered to the earth as opposed to finding and experiencing heaven. That's Yaakov. What about Yisrael? The dimension of Yisrael, Israel, by contrast, is where a person's worship occurs in the essence of the name Havaya, which is not obscured by the name Elohim at all. This is a person who basically is operating in the dimension of light. Consequently, it does not entail any hard work or labor at all. Similarly, it does not require the toil and labor to fix and refine the animal soul, since the animal soul of this guy does not hide or conceal divinity from the person. Page 26. His primary worship is not in the work of refinement, but rather in drawing forth divine revelation, etc. Now, the above implies that so 1 second. So you have the person who struggles, Yaakov, and the person who has no struggle. Person who is existing in a space of divine bliss, of spiritual clarity. Person who knows who they are, knows their purpose, and sees clearly where they need to be, and not only has clarity of destination, but does not have obstacles in their way on the path toward that. When we said before, layers of darkness, 3 levels of darkness, this person has no darkness. Clarity where they need to be, clarity on where they are, and the path is clear as well. Everything is clear, smooth sail. It's like when you get on that plane and the captain gets on and says, we got to, clear skies. Flight time is like 30 minutes less than what they told you, so that they could always be on time and have their on-time numbers high, whatever, right? So everything's clear, smooth sailing. That's Yisrael. Yisrael is smooth. Yaakov, I don't even know where I'm going. And if I knew where I was going, I don't even know how to get there. I'm getting in the way of myself. That's Yaakov. Yaakov is the wrestler. Yaakov is the grappler. Yaakov, Akev. I said last week, Akev, heel, Akev. Yaakov is the one who's grabbing the heel of his twin brother. He's fighting with himself. It's like Fight Club. Yaakov is fighting with self. Yisrael, there's no internal struggle. There's no external struggle. Tzaddik, pure, knows what he or she wants, and is going to get it spiritually. Now, the above implies, this is the kicker, and this is where we conclude today. Now, the above implies that the level of Yisrael is much loftier than that of Yaakov. If you were given a choice, which door do you want? Which path, which life do you want? The Yaakov struggler, the dark life, or the light life? Choose. No brainer. No brainer. Yisrael all day, every day. Give me clarity, give me light, take away my struggles. Perfect. But the truth is that there is a great advantage to the level of Yaakov, my servant, over the level of Yisrael, and that's what we talk about next week. All right, so what do we do today? Today we spoke about light and darkness, the duality, the first duality of existence in the Torah. You open up Genesis chapter 1. The first duality that you notice is light and darkness. We spoke a lot about darkness today. We spoke a lot about the courage of Avram, of Abram, and Sarah. We spoke a lot about what that entails, what it looks like to operate in a space of darkness and to push through darkness. We also spoke about what it means to discover light and what it means to adopt a persona of Yisrael. You can't just adopt a persona, but what it means to have that persona of Yisrael. A persona of Yisrael means that you have clarity where you need to be and clarity on how to get there, and you're not stuck within yourself. Yaakov is full of struggle. If we had a choice between a life of struggle and a life of clarity, I think all of us would choose clarity, and he's saying, yet there is an advantage, as we've also discussed, an advantage to the life of struggle over the life of clarity, and that is going to be what he expresses throughout this discourse, and especially next week. So join me for that next week. Also, very important announcement. I call this a VIA. We do VIAs. Very important announcement. This week, we are starting a brand new Kabbalah course. I know this is Kabbalah Café. This is also Kabbalah. But we are starting a 6-week course called The World of Kabbalah. This is my textbook. But if you come, you will get your own textbook. And along with the textbook, you will also get some gorgeous materials, including Kabbalah map. If you've ever studied Kabbalah, no, let me explain what's going on here. If you've ever studied Kabbalah and have heard concepts, but the concepts kind of remain a little bit like out there, and you don't have clarity and like what is going on? How do we map this out? Where is everything located, and what does it all mean? Clarity and precision. This course provides that. These are Kabbalistic concepts that you will learn throughout this course. There is a total, I don't know, they didn't number them, like 1 through whatever. This is probably about 30 different concepts that by the end of the course, you will have mastered. This is an incredible course. It's starting this week. I teach it twice on Wednesdays, Wednesday at noon and Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Lunch at noon is included. There's a dinner option for the Wednesday night. If you want to join the Wednesday night and have dinner, I will have dinner for you here. Just let me know. Just so you know that the lessons are called. Lesson 1 is the evolution of ego. Lesson 2, the dawn of limitation. Lesson 3, the infinite light. Lesson 4, the world of chaos. Lesson 5, the great concealment. And lesson 6, the essence of everything. This is going to be a course for the ages. We talk a lot of Kabbalah here Sunday mornings, but this is organized step by step, 6 steps to understand how the entire cosmic realms are mapped out, and also in every lesson, how it applies in our own lives and how we personalize it in our own experience. So join me Wednesday. If you need more information, let me know. It's on our website, thetorahcenteratl.org/JLI. All right. And you can always try out the first class for free if you're not sure. Okay. Good to see you guys. Hey, online.
Is that course on Zoom?
Yes. Live in person and on Zoom, both afternoon and evening classes. Yeah.
Okay.
This is, and if you have to miss a class because you're out of town, whatever, everything is recorded and will be made available for participants. Uber Eats on Zoom. That's hilarious, David. Yes. David, in Florida, we will send some Fuego Mundo. It's going to take a few days, but it will still be hot.
Yeah.
Yes. Good. Great to see you. Susan and Lisa and Fran and Larry. Larry, good to see you. And Matt and Tony and David. Good to see you guys. Literally from around the country. Literally. We have East Coast, West Coast.
Wonderful.
Everybody in between. We got Vegas. We got California. We got Atlanta. We got Florida. We got Pennsylvania.
Really?
Amazing. We got Kansas. Kansas in the house. Literally.
It's bigger than Kabbalah.
This is it. This is basically,
Yeah.
we've gone global.
You got it all.
Yeah, we've got it all. We're missing chili today.
Oh.
Chili's not here.
Oh.
We usually have chili. All right.
Yeah.
I have to reach out to them. We'll see where our Chilean folks are. All right, guys. Shavua Tov. Have a wonderful week. See you guys soon. All right. Take care.